you out there? Have those people arrived yet? Because we're kind of stuck, you see, because nowhere to go. Ah, they enter, do they? They enter. We are pleased to welcome them, the reigning champions to the block. How you doing, Tom? You're welcome. How are you, sir? How you doing? Sit down. How are you, sir? Sit down. Hi, Adam. How you doing? You're great. Good to have you with us. Good to have you with us. Conquering heroes home from afar. Good to have you with us on the show again. Quite some time. Dubliners last time, was it not?
That's right.
And then before that, when you were all young and innocent and starting out.
Aren't we still young and innocent, Gay?
You're not so young and you're not so innocent anymore, no. But however, you're doing grand. How are you? How are you?
Fair to middling.
Talk to me about how you are, all of you.
A bit burnt out, but none the worse for wear. 6 months in LA can do strange things to anyone. It's a strange place.
Particularly to Edge.
Yeah.
Burnt out.
A bit burnt out.
Tell me how and why. Fatigue, is it? You're just
I was
weary.
feeling great until he said that, actually. I haven't felt as good in ages, actually.
Yeah, no, we have a bit of time.
Are you
off.
burnt out?
It's all those late nights, Bonnie, with you down in the Pink Elephant. That's
They can't keep up with me. He's only a boy, Gay.
But you've had a hell of a run of work, haven't you? I mean, how long has it been going on now, non-stop?
Well, since we started the Joshua Tree album, really, we haven't had a real break. This is the first break since then. And that's when...
Is this a break?
This is the break. This, I'm informed, is the only thing you're doing, you see, and we're very glad to have you. So what are you doing to relax, all of you? Larry, what are you up to relax? What are you at?
I'm doing a bit of knitting. No, it's difficult. Like you coming off the road, and then we went into trying to edit the film and just been involved in that and just doing the soundtrack to that. So it's taken a bit of time to relax and come to grips with it. I personally do some stuff with Mother Records, so I'm kept going, sort of filling my time in, you know. To relax is quite difficult, you know, there's always something happening.
What exactly are you doing with Mother Records to relax?
Well, it's not to relax, I'm just sort of putting some time in, just going out and seeing bands and just checking what's going on with the Dublin bands.
It's all happening, actually, in Ireland, not just in Dublin, with young bands. There's fine young bands out there. And Larry Mullen is the only man who can say no to them. So that's why he runs Mother Records.
And he's good at saying no to them, isn't he?
He's good at saying no to anybody, anytime, anywhere.
I've had a lot of practice.
He is, in fact, the shop steward of the band. And
no is his answer.
yeah, basically, 90%. That's his answer.
Well, I invented you, so I mean, there you go.
We all basically owe Larry Mullen Jr. a job. He was the man who started. It is, after all, the Larry Mullen Band. And we all still see it like that.
I gave these guys the first and only job. This is true.
This is true.
This is true.
Right. And do they express their gratitude
No,
in any
they
real
don't appreciate me.
No, they don't.
That's why that's why we wanted to do the show. We felt we had to put it on the record.
That he's the owner of the band. And
Yes, that's right. He's the boss, really.
Good. Are you doing any motorcycling this weather?
I'm doing a touch. The weather isn't great for it. When we were in Los Angeles, it was perfect weather for getting out on the bike, you know, but it's a bit wet, as they say, you know. I'm sort of I'm maybe a weekend biker.
Yeah.
This is the only man I know, by the way, who's able to run over his own foot on a motorbike. He actually did that.
Not easy.
It's not easy.
Edge, what are you doing to relax now?
I actually came back from America and I found I couldn't relax. I tried staring at walls for a few days, polishing doors, taking the dog for a walk, and it was tough, but I'm beginning to unwind now after just getting back and just not really knowing what to do with myself. It's like when you're involved in a project that's taking you to hell and back, and suddenly you're dumped back at home and you have to deal with like just, you know, conversation over dinner, like pass the salt, you know, have we got any milk in the fridge? It gets very weird, and I'm just coming out of it now. Nice and mellow right now.
Yeah. What about you, Bonnet?
To relax.
Yeah.
I've spent a lot of time in bed. I have been in bed a lot. I seem to be going to bed when the wife is getting out of bed. This is unfortunate. But
perhaps you better explain that, Bono, in a little more detail.
no, I haven't quite. I'm not on Dublin time yet, and because I blame it all on the jet lag. It's really
I'd blame it on the Jack Daniels myself.
no, it's commitment to Buy Irish edge. I like to support nightclubs throughout Dublin and Ireland, and I feel it. No, I feel it's my duty. I don't enjoy it at all,
No.
and because I can't get to sleep at night. The only thing open at 4 or 5 or 6 in the morning is a bottle sometimes. Well, no, it's not at all. That's an exaggeration, but I find
You're leading your life at night.
yeah, I am. I find the community shrinks at night, and nobody bothers you at night. You get to know people, and you don't have the kind of people can't see you in the dark. Gay, it's great. So nobody bothers me at all.
What about Adam? What are you doing to relax?
I haven't really worked it out yet, but one of the things is just being able to get back into that kind of level of Dublin life that, maybe you were a part of 10 years ago before all this happened, which was getting used to walking across the Halfpenny Bridge or whatever and through the Merchant's Arch and just seeing those places and just seeing the change that's happening in the city. And it seems like there's a lot of creativity going on here, but there aren't any jobs. And the problem seems to be completely different in other countries. Like there's a lot of jobs, but no real creativity. So it's just getting a feel for being back in Ireland and being Irish again.
How long has he been calling it the Halfpenny Bridge? None of you in all the years.
It's Oxford English, Gay. That's Oxford English. Just want you to know.
See? Straight from the Welsh valleys. Yeah.
I know where it is, and that's what's important.
You guys are supposed to be his pals, that you would never have broken to him and said, hey, come here, it's not Nancy on the Halfpenny Bridge.
They like that sort of individuality.
That's
Have you not seen, Adam, I think the greatest line in the Rattle and Hum film is where Adam says, pass the tissues, Fintan. I think it's excellent.
Talk to me.
Out in the wild,
Sorry, Adam,
you have to be a little bit civilized.
Yeah, indeed. Talk to me about that point that there are fewer people around and you can get through in the dark at night and so on. Can you get through Dublin, through Ireland, without being annoyed, stroke pestered, stroke approached, stroke all of that? Larry, you're still drinking like in Howth, reasonably unmolested.
Yeah, there's sort of, I don't know how to. If you go into town sometimes, you find that people just tend to just push it a little bit too much. But you don't mind signing autographs with people. People sometimes just want a piece of you. I find that living in Howth and all that I can actually go out and people are used to seeing your face around. And generally they sort of leave you alone. But it's like the guy said, I'm pretty straight about it. If people hassle me, I will tell them to piss off. I've got no problem doing that with, if people push it too far, but I've got no problem signing autographs with people. But if they step over the mark, if you're trying to have a quiet drink with your friends, there is time to say, look, leave me alone.
Actually, I find leave me alone. Actually, I find the Irish people are the coolest. It's the tourists that give you the hassle if you're walking down Grafton Street. 9 times out of 10 anyway. It's not the Irish. They just there's edge. That's all you get. It's like that's about it.
That's it.
You must find that guy. Like you've been famous longer than we have. What's it like for you?
Well, I find that they're pleasant. That by and large, and generally speaking, people are very kind. And now and then, when the kids get sort of excited, not that they get excited with me anymore.
Come on now, Gay.
Could I
being modest?
They are quite good.
Can I ask you something personal, Gay? Like, do you find that, I don't know if this is okay to say, but do you find it that people follow you into men's toilets?
Yes. Yes,
Because
they do. Yes.
This has happened to me, and it's an interesting place because,
Yes.
in fact, I was in where was I can't remember where it was, but I was in a public house, and I went to the men's room, and I was standing there as you do,
As one
And
does.
I was just standing there, and the guy came in, and he went up the other end, and he was he's looking over, and I have to admit I could not get it together. So I was waiting for inspiration, as it were, and he said nothing, and he just went and he washed his hands.
Of course, he was all right. He was
fine. He did his thing, and he went and he washed his hands, and I was still waiting there. And he just came up to me and he, just as he entered the door, he went, "A stage fright bellow."
Yes, I think they follow you in for two reasons. One, to see if you have one like everybody else. And secondly, they think that they can corner you in there for the autograph or the brother who has a band and wants to be on the Late Late Show, or a singer or whatever. And,
Well, in my case, no.
Go back to when you were on the Whirlwind, the tour, and America, and all of that. Adam said, you know, before all this started, like as if this was a thing that happened to you. When you're in the throes of all of that, looking back on it now, talk to me about that.
You must remember your first time you ever presented a Late Late Show, and this live audience, and you know, there's people there, and it's nothing like that at all. No, I don't. It's
Nice try, Bono. Nice try. Yes.
It is a very hard thing to explain. It is a very hard thing to explain what it's like, and it is an amazing feeling of being loved. Actually, you just feel like love for your music, and you walk out on stage, and it is an amazing feeling. Those 2 hours are really the only 2 hours, and they make up for the other hours, which can often be very boring or just full of kind of. You know, meeting people you don't particularly want to meet and that kind of thing. We found a way of doing it now, and which stops us feeling like we are just pieces of luggage, because you can feel like you're just a piece of luggage sometimes. But those 2 hours, the time you're on stage, it's kind of unexplainable, and you just go into a kind of it's like a trance, really, or something like that. You don't quite know. You just go into it and you come out of it, and it's just this magical feeling. I think a U2 concert is a strange thing for us as well as the audience. I think the atmosphere and the music is much bigger than the band, or even, you know, it's just much bigger, it seems to be.
Have you all figured out yet whether you're loved for yourselves or whether you're loved for what you do? Do you make that distinction?
I'm quite sure
Yeah,
myself.
it's definitely for what we do.
For what you do?
Yeah.
Okay, how many times have you seen Rattle and Hum?
About
Too many times.
15 times. Probably.
Good. Well, you're going to see it the 16th time then, because a lot of people may not have seen it. I've seen it, as you know, and it's a beautiful, beautiful production. And I want to bring you one of the favourite pieces for me. I had great difficulty with Kieran today deciding which to use first, Helter Skelter or this bit, and I wanted the piece with the gospel choir in Harlem, and your favourite bit too, I suspect.
I do. I love that bit.
Yeah.
I must admit to being a little bit hungover at that particular point in the church in Harlem. I looked very distracted, but it was a very, very late night. And it was just one of those things, you know. But I was just totally humbled. We were all very humbled by these people sang the song much better than I could ever hope to, really.
Yeah. Did you want to say something about this, Edge, before we see it?
Well, just, you know, it all came about from a simple cassette we got from a guy in the record company, and when we arrived and we were a little unsure, you know, but when they started singing, we realized in a sense that we just borrowed that music, you know. It's a gospel song, essentially, and we saw the real thing there, and it was really bowled us over. You know, whatever the effect it has in the cinema, you know, it was 10 times as intense for us actually being there when they started singing. I had to pick myself off the floor after they opened up.
You kind of think they'd done it all before, years ago, before you were born.
Really, yeah.
Yeah. Roll it there, Roisin, please. This is from Rattle and Hum, a lovely session with the gospel choir in Harlem. Great bit. By the way, while I think of it, did any of those people who sang with you there, did they tell you what they thought of you? Did any of them come up and say,
A couple of them.
did they?
A couple of them did. For various different things. Like a few of them, you know, you get in New York, you get the sort of street guy who comes up and says, listen, Ed, I got this band, here's my cassette, you know, this is my card, phone me next week. So there was a few. I came out with like 15 cassettes in my pockets. But like a lot of the people, like really sweet. In fact, I remember just watching it there. We spent a month or 2 months in the studio editing this, putting it together. I think I fell in love with about 5 or 6 of the girls in the front row during that time. You know, different ones. It was so great.
I think real people, they don't tell you anything. They show you. You can see it in the way they look at you and whatever. And that's what those people have. And that's something that you sometimes miss in LA, where it's all a verbal communication. It's all, you know, how white your Mercedes convertible is or whatever. But those people who have heart and soul, which is very similar to Irish people, they feel an empathy for you and you feel it for them, and you pick that up. They don't have to say anything. And they may not have been fans of all our early records or whatever, but they got something out of that song, and there was a kindred spirit that we all felt.
Yeah, I think there is a relationship there between, you know, I think the Irish have soul, and the blacks in America have soul, you know, and that's just what sets them apart. And, you know, one of the girls came up to me and she said, you know, I believe as well that one day the kingdom come and all the colours will bleed into one. And I thought, oh, she listened to it as well as sing it, you know. It was amazing, really. It was quite an experience.
Great. Okay, I'll tell you what, we want to take a commercial break now. When we come back, I know there are people in the audience want to talk to you, ask you questions, and we'll take questions on the telephone as well. All right, give us a chance to take this break. Come back to us for U2. Okay, I dare you, Larry. One caller already on the phone saying, who are these people who came on the Late Late Show? Usually you introduce your guest. These people just appeared from the side, one of them carrying a bottle of beer, very unbecoming.
Sorry, missus.
You coward! You coward! Coward!
Swear I'll never do it again.
Now, when did you get your first break? An ex-school pal wants to know when you got your first break. You don't
When
want
Lawrence
to go into all
ran
that.
over his foot on the bike, I think that was the first break we got.
When Lawrence ran over his foot on the bike. Who wants to get in here? Lawrence ran over his foot on the bike. Who wants to get in here? There was a young man up there. Yeah, yes, sir.
I'd just like to ask Bono and the boys.
Yeah.
I mean, you've gone as far as, you know, you've gone to the top of your career as far as everyone in Ireland is concerned. You've given everyone a great bit of joy. What's next? I mean, how can you top what you've just done?
We can split up, I suppose.
I think we should have a competition, see if anyone's got any good ideas.
It's you know, we don't feel like we've even come close to what we're after. Just don't feel it. Just because we sell a lot of records doesn't mean we're any good. I mean, there's a lot of crap rock and roll bands that sell more records than us, and it doesn't matter. That's not how we judge our success. We judge.
Name 3 bands name 3 bands that are crap and sell more records than you.
Dirty guy. Dirty.
No, just interest, please. All right, you won't skip it. Go on, finish what you were saying. No, I meant that very sincerely.
No, they're out there, believe me. It's not. You don't judge your success by the records you sell or everything. You judge it by your own standard. We feel very like we don't feel like we've come close to what we're really looking for. We think the next 10 years is when U2 is really going to come into its own. We think we've spent the last 10 years kind of doing an apprenticeship. That's honestly how we feel about it.
Do you not feel that you're wearing? I mean, you're traveling non-stop. I mean, for a long, long time. I mean, can that last forever? Can that last as long as you like it to last?
That can't last forever. That side of the group can't last forever. But the most important thing is the writing of the songs and the recording of the songs. And then the playing of them comes out of that. And we've decided we're not going to do any more of these big world tours. We're just going to play when we want to play. A month here, a month there, a month back home. That's the way forward for us. I know a lot of the times in the early days, we had to do these long tours just to stay solvent, you know, just to stay, you know, long, you know, after they were advertising us being millionaires in, you know, local newspapers. We were still broke and still had to play to just to stay, just to pay the wages. Now we don't have to do that, so now we can do what we like.
Speaking of the press, and long after the press were telling us all you were millionaires, you were still broke and so on. What about your treatment by the press? Have you any comments on that?
I think they've been very good to us. I mean, it's hard for them because they're kind of fed up saying we're great. And I don't blame them. I sometimes pick up a newspaper and says, U2, they're number one, it's fabulous. And I go, oh, I hate that band. Oh, I'm in that band. You know, it's like, you know, I feel it. But it's not a good enough reason to slag us off because of that. That's not a good enough reason. We have to start putting out bad records before you can really do that. And we haven't done that yet. I think they've been very good to us. At times it's gone wrong. There was, you know, your privacy, for instance, which is something we always felt. We didn't have that tabloid newspaper mentality in this country. But there's a little bit of it, and, you know, we ask people not to print, you know, pictures of our houses and stuff like that. And especially, you know, not for me or for the boys, but for your families that you leave behind. And we asked them, and they said, I'm sorry, we'll do it if we want to do, and print actually the addresses, which is just irresponsible, apart from it. But generally, the press are really great to us. They are really great to us.
Do they bug you, Larry? You don't do interviews anymore.
Well, no, I mean, I don't generally do interviews. You know, people sort of thought it was some sort of inferiority complex. It's just, I do now feel a lot more capable of talking to somebody in the press, but before, I felt that if you sit down with somebody and they got a tape recorder, they can take what you say and either use it for you or against you, and I found that difficult. These guys are more, I'm not being modest here, these guys are more articulate than I am. I work in straight lines and boxes, and I don't know how to work the press as such. I don't think these guys do either, but I just well, you know what I'm saying, like I just find it a little bit more difficult because I'm pretty straightforward. Yes. If you say things, if you're honest with people, they can take it and use it against you.
You're amazed when it comes out as not what you said at all.
That's sort of difficult to cope with.
Yeah,
you know.
I just never said that.
Yeah.
So you just back off altogether.
Or else you do say something, and then when it is printed, it comes out like you just sound like a complete jerk. And you say, well, I've obviously haven't mastered this particular area of my life. Maybe we should just leave it, you know.
The press is a very strange thing because, in a sense, you ask it to judge you on the songs that you've written or on, in recent cases, this film that we've done, and yet they come back and say, we don't reveal enough about ourselves. We actually reveal an awful lot about ourselves in our music and in this film and whatever footage there has been of the band over the last 10 years, but the press actually don't understand what we're talking about. They don't pick up on it. And they blame us for that. And I think a lot of the people who are buying the records and listening to the records and are into the band and they have their favourite members of the band, they know exactly what's going on in our heads. And yet the press seems to be outside of that. And they invent stories that really have no relevance, and I don't think people believe at the end of the day.
Yes, sir, up at the back. You wanted to get in with the glasses, yeah.
I'd just like to compliment the group on such wonderful, articulate people. And you're a great example to youth of this town. From the bad language I hear on buses and everything else, it's nice to hear you on there being yourselves.
You should hear them when they're reading themselves.
I must say, you know, concerning that sort of bad language on the buses, I think, you know, really those people should piss off. And, they're a disgrace to Ireland and particularly to Dublin in the millennium year, may I add.
Yes. Now that I've complimented you first, Bono. Now I'd like to say to you, would you like to come to live in Ireland permanently? And would the wealth that you've accumulated be any benefit to our economy?
We do live here. I mean, we've no problem paying taxes. Very proud to pay tax in Ireland, even if they're higher than they are anywhere else.
Would this not be a feature of one of the reasons why you wouldn't come here to live permanently, Bono?
No, we do live here permanently.
Oh, you do?
I do. I have a bed in Gayburn's dressing room. I live there. It's all there. The bike is parked outside. I'm not joking you. We do actually live in Ireland, and we want to. It's not. We're not forced
I'm a
to.
bit old for pop.
Do you live here?
I'm a great fan of yours. You're marvellous. Very great.
He does live here. That man does. You do. You live
You
here. Of course
definitely
he
live
does.
here,
Of course
yeah?
he does. Yeah.
Grand.
Yes. Yes. Yes, love. Sorry. What?
I just want to know, could you say at this point in time, what is the ultimate goal you have for your lives? In 25 years' time, would you be happy to see yourself like Cliff Richard still in the business? Or is there something that you want to say?
I'd love to know how to roller skate. It's one thing.
Yeah, someone tell a joke.
Yeah. What's wrong with being Cliff Richard?
I think he's a great man.
Great guy.
No,
He's still in there.
No, I do. I have a lot. I actually do have a lot of respect for Cliff Richard. It's his music. That's.
I think there's a difference here in what you're talking about. I think Cliff is part of the entertainment industry, and he feels comfortable doing that, and he's playing the Royal Albert Hall or whatever. He's an entertainer. I think what's much more important to a band like U2 is music and the root of the music and keeping that feeling alive, which in Irish terms would be something that the Dubliners have achieved. For us, in rock and roll terms, it would be something like Keith Richards or Bob Dylan has achieved, where these people are still hungry, they're still aggressive about their music, and that's what we want in 10 years' time.
You have all decided you want to be in this band, have you?
No.
No.
Definitely not.
Still a bit unsure.
You want to do what you're doing, though.
We renew our contracts on a weekly basis.
That's not a bad idea. That's not keep it fresh. Yes, young man up here.
The cover of In Dublin this month is on, it's called The Beatification of Bono, and I just want to know how he feels about that.
The Beatification of Bono.
Well,
We've been trying for it for years.
You like the clothes.
All I'll say is it's a bum deal being God. You don't get Sundays off. It's. People are just hard up for heroes, I think, and they want to make us into heroes. We're not really heroes. We're not at all like. I'm not at all like the people I write about. I write about real heroes. Real heroes are people like John Hume or people like Martin Luther King, people who actually live their life, in the real world. I don't live in the real world at all. I live in my own world, and that's not worthy of beatification.
I think we've been very honest about always wanting to be a rock and roll band, and rock and roll is something that was invented in America. It is an American art form, and that is what we are interested in. So inevitably, it's a part of it. When we go through our traditional phase, we won't be going to America, but rock and roll is an American thing, and that's what we're excited about at the moment.
But every artist has to come to terms with America. So we're living in America here, you just put on the ads. Talk about the Coca-Cola ad, there it is, it's America. And it's America just creeps under the door. It's everywhere. Everybody has to face up to America, and I like to criticize it and attack it, but also appreciate a side. I like
the one thing you can't do about it is generalize about it. About
Correct.
America.
It's hard.
Absolutely not.
full of
Do you want a bit of self-aid, or do you want another question or two, or do you want a telephone? Two young men up there. Okay, guy in blue first of all. Yes, sir.
On the question of America, you tend to criticize it a lot. You don't hear an awful lot of praise coming through from America in your music. Is there a reason for that?
No, there's real respect for the music. That's the one thing we really do. One of the great things about America is its music.
Is there any part of America that appeals to you outside of the music?
I think America for us is like the best and the worst rolled into one, When I think of America, I don't think of, say, George Bush or Ronald Reagan. I think of John F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King, the kind of principles on which it was founded. So there's no straight answer to that. There's parts of it I really respect and admire, and parts that I just think are off-beam totally.
But you just seem to pick up on the off-beam parts of it.
No.
Well, you just saw this film, Mac. I mean, there was a great side of America. Church in Harlem, people singing that gospel song.
The song praising a great American hero. You know, that says it all, I think.
Okay, young in the white shirt, yes.
Just one question I want to ask the whole band. How important is religion to you in your music?
Religion's not important, very important to me. I can answer that personally. I have my faith, and there's a world of difference between that. And my faith is very important to me.
As a group?
As a group, that's the one area you can't be a group on. That's something that's a very personal thing. Yeah.
Well, you want to go down the line on that, Larry? How important is religion, faith?
Well, I think we all share the same the same belief, but it is a very private and personal thing, and it's not something that can be discussed. It has been discussed in the past, and Eamon Duffy's book in particular tackled it in a way that I just found a little bit overbearing, to be honest. You know, and that's very hard, because you see what happens in America with religion being taken or religion or faith being taken and used as an industry. So that's very hard to see when you actually do believe in something. So it's very hard to talk about. It's very personal, and you know, it's hard.
And are you saying that you didn't work for this image? Was it forced upon you, this Christian thing?
No, we certainly don't. We don't really. In fact, we felt incredibly awkward about it. Just incredibly awkward. I used to think we were just like a freak show or something. I felt like just totally. I said, why do I feel like this? I have this, you know, I'm in a rock and roll band, yet I have these feelings. And then I realized that rock and roll's always been like that. Elvis Presley was like that. Marvin Gaye was.
Like what?
Elvis Presley had these feelings. He had a faith, and people think that rock and roll is for the faithless. It's not the case. Bob Dylan's not like that. Van Morrison's not like that. You know,
do you mean they have strong religious faith?
Yes, it's wrapped up in it. Rock and roll was born out of gospel music. You just seen gospel music, and that's where it came from. It's a sort of, it's a thing of the spirit, really.
But you mean the popular concept of rock and roll is drugs and women and debauchery and all of that?
I think so. And it was really weird because, you know, in owning up to that and allowing it into your music, we were the first white rock and roll band to do that. But, you know, Bob Marley had been doing it for years. Black rock and roll, you know, black musicians had always owned up to this. Stevie Wonder, Michael Jackson, you know, we were the first white rock and roll band to do that, and we got a lot of stick for it. But worse than that, people expected us to be, you know, holier than thou. They thought, you know, it was, and I found...
You got the tag.
Yeah, and you felt like a hypocrite. Yeah. You know, and you felt that if you made a few mistakes, you know, you were carrying this weight around you. And I found this terrible, this weight. And to be honest, that being a Christian, if you like, is something I feel I'm not really... I feel embarrassed to say I'm a Christian because I don't think I'm a very good example. And so it's a word I wouldn't use lightly.
You don't have to be very good at it to describe yourself as. You can be trying. Yeah, line 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2, 4. Yeah. Hello, line 6.
Hello. I was just wondering which of the bands, which song they liked best. Which of their songs?
Which of all their songs?
Yeah.
Which of all their songs they liked best? Oh boy.
That's a tough one.
You're on your own, fellas. You're on your own. Pride.
Woo.
Bullet.
I like Running to Stand Still. I think that's my favourite.
Running to Stand Still. Larry?
Oh, God.
All sounds just like one big drum beat to you,
No,
Larry.
it doesn't, not at all. No, I had the name of it there. Actually, I know it. It's from the October album. Tomorrow's my favourite song that we've written.
Okay.
Mine is on the new record. It's called Hawk Moon.
New record, Hawk Moon.
I guess mine would have to be Drowning Man.
Okay, do you want a bit of self-aid? You do? Okay, yeah. We'll go self-aid. Right, let's have some self-aid. Roll it there, Roisin, please. This is the bit, top of the bill on self-aid in the RDS. You remember it. No need to give. While that was playing, Bono went to the gents and we kept everybody else out of it, so we got back in time, you'll be glad to hear. Great relief to us all. Yes, all right, right up at the back there, yeah. Hi there.
I'd just like to make the point that we've had the famous question from you two is what's your favourite song and so on. And with questions like that, it makes a young person like myself become very cynical of you two at a certain age. And as much as I'm fulfilled and really uplifted by their music, at a certain age, I just, you know, people look at you and they say, you sissy, or how do you dress? They're the real U2 fans. I mean, at one stage I wasn't going to a U2 concert, but I was walking in the opposite direction. And everyone who was going to the concert had their U2 t-shirt and their Thule or in their grey trousers and their marble wash. And they laughed at me. And personally, I mean, were they going to go to Croke Park and laugh at Bono on stage?
Were you laughing at them?
No, I don't know. I wasn't.
It sounds a little bit like you are.
I know, it's unfortunately, a lot of people have become cynical of them.
Yeah, well, you see, you know, a lot of people get into music and they want to separate themselves from other people. And they look down at people who maybe, you know, who'd wear, you know, a T-shirt like that, and they may not be cool, and they may not have the right hat.
Yeah, I know.
But, you know, I don't think that's right. I think that's what I call elitism.
I know.
And I don't believe that anyone going to a U2 concert would laugh at you. I just don't believe that. I think you were laughing at them. That's the way I pick it up. I just don't believe that people going to a U2 concert. You don't, you know, you don't strike me as particularly outrageous.
No, I am.
And you know, in fact, you know.
Well, I've toned down a bit. Everyone does at a certain stage.
But I'll tell you what, you cannot take, but on the other hand, like, we cannot take responsibility for fans. The fact that they're like that doesn't mean that we're like that. Generally, I think U2 audience are pretty smart people.
Yeah, just two questions. Did you enjoy working with B.B. King on Rattle and Hum? And second question, is it true that you refused to appear live on Top of the Pops?
We would only ever do Top of the Pops live. You know, we were the band that went on Top of the Pops and the single went down the next week. So we decided a while ago it wasn't really a show that we were into doing as such. I think the only way to do it is live. I respect those groups that go on and actually play their song like it's a concert. Most people mime to a backing track.
Yeah, and BB?
BB, great. One of the highlights of the year was standing 5 foot from B.B. King as he was singing When Love Comes to Town. It was
amazing, man. He moves back from the microphone and his voice gets louder. It's incredible.
All I remember was his backing singers was standing in front of the bass, and they reckon it was doing funny things to them. So I reckon that was okay.
Yes, sir. What about yourself?
Two questions.
Yeah.
One is a funny aspect of Adam, and the first one, what countries did you have spoken about countries, what country do you enjoy visiting the most? Did you get the greatest pleasure out of? That is the first, and before you would answer that, I would just, to Adam, I had occasion one time to do a job in your mother's house.
I'll tell you, the mother gets in there any which way.
I got all the stories about the band being loaded onto the back of the little pickup and all the gear being taken into town. But I just remember saying to one of the lads going into your house, take the discs off the wall of the staircase. Your staircase was a very dark green. And be very, very cautious with them, because these lads are just about coming into their own.
And everyone knows they're real gold.
And there were, and this is a fact, there were 2 children. And they were about 12, 13-year-old. And they had been hanging around there all day. And they said, hey, mister, we'll go in and we'll wash the whole house down. Let's take down those discs.
Did you get paid for the job? That's what we all want to know.
Very well, I might add.
Very good, very good. Listen, fellas, are you going to sing us out tonight? Come on, sing us out. We just happen to have some helpers laid on. You are not, of course, expecting a full U2 rig, for God's sake, not like what they have on the road.
Begun. So this is Christmas. I hope you have fun. fear. So this is Christmas, a weekend for strong, a rich and a poor one. We've waited so long. So Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. Let's hope it's a good one, without any fear. So Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. Let's hope it's a good one, without any fear. War is over if you want it. War is over if you want it. War is over if you want it. War is over
Okay. Delighted to have you in this house tonight. Happy Christmas to you.
Happy
New
Christmas
Year.
to you.
Goodbye. God bless you. Good night. Bye-bye.